Okay, so today we're going to look at the overhead squat. It's a fully functional compound movement which integrates your trapezius, your upper back muscles, your erector spinae muscles, all the muscles around the core. So we're talking the rectus abdominis, transverse abdominis, your obliques, your triceps and shoulders, your front deltoid, posterior deltoid and everything in between. If we're going into the lower body, it works your glutes, the hamstrings, your quadriceps, and also your calves, as they need to keep your feet grounded for that solid base. The overhead squat is the perfect transition for elite level athletes before we work into getting the snatch. It's great for working that overhead position, which is so important if you are going to be an athlete that, say, takes catches. They need that balance, that mobility and stability, which of course you'll be able to have if you can do a fully functional strong overhead squat. We'll be looking to go heavy on this, very few reps, 1 to 5 as we say, in order for you to keep that position and to drop down into your heels. You'll need good ankle mobility, knees, hips and shoulder range of motion, as we will get to later on in the limitations section of this, as we'll talk about a few of the injuries which can come about as well. So in a context of sports, we're going to adapt to the Universal Athletic Position, the UAP, because it's far easier to remember. We're going to talk about a defender in football. You're going to have to jockey your man, you're going to have to stand like that. We're talking about boxing on that nice strong base. That sort of Olympic lifting, a fully compound, fully functional movement is great to integrate into that. The midfielder will have to do the same with tracking from side to side. The striker to keep balance before he goes up for a header. All of these movements can be integrated, can be helped to shape and define our athlete through these incredible functional, hard-hitting, heavy movements. So, onto the technique.
In this first clip, the demonstrator will show you how to unrack the bar from a back squat position. Hands will be in a snatch grip position. The bar should be resting on the trapezius muscles and then push press above the head. The bar should be aligned with the crown of your head, shoulders and ankles, armpits pushed forward, torso upright and core as stable as possible. During the eccentric part of the movement, the knee should be pointing outwards, toes should be pointing outwards, and the hip should just sink between your ankles. What you don't want to do on the eccentric part of this movement is make sure that your knees do not move inwards and your feet do not rotate outwards. This second clip of the technique section of this video is how to move the bar above your head into the overhead squat position by performing a hang snatch from your hips. So hands should be in a snatch position, torso should move forward, also trap should shrug upwards, and momentum should move the bar above your head. The points to look for from a side view of the overhead squat is that the heels may rise. During the eccentric portion of the movement, the athlete may fail to achieve a lower than parallel depth, so the coach needs to make sure that this is achieved, and also the torso of the athlete is not falling forward due to a lack of support. These are the 3 things to look for during a side view of the overhead squat.
There are many limitations in mobility. Firstly, in the ankles, some people do kind of struggle with the dorsiflexion kind of motion, and if you do, you might come off your heels, you'll find, and you might even fall forward, and this is going to cause more stress on your gastrocnemius and soleus, the back of your calves, for example. And Ollie, if you could demonstrate mobility in the ankles, please. That's it. So he's struggling to get down, as you can see, he's again, more body. His heels are coming off the ground, so this might cause problems in like the knee as well, as the knee is also coming forward, and this might cause rupture in the ACL. And then the next mobility problem we may have is in the knees. As you go down, you don't want your knees to cave in and creating a valgus force like that. I mean, this can also cause problems in the ACL, the MCL, and even may overstretch muscles, the tension fasciolaris. If you could demonstrate for us one more time, Ollie, valgus force, please. As you can see, the foot is being inverted, slanted in, and this will cause bearing more pressure on the inside of the ankle. And the next joint that you may struggle in mobility with is the hip joint. The hip flexors are working as you go down, and the hip extensions as you're coming back up. As you can see, these flexors and extensions can become very rigid. For example, people who sit down for long periods of time, so you may have to kind of work on the mobility and kind of stretching these muscles, as this may help. I mean, the next joint is the shoulder girdle. The shoulder girdle is actually the most unstable joint in the body, so you'll have to be careful when lifting the bar. You'll have to be careful and make sure you don't kind of dislocate your shoulder. The bar will be kept at the crown of your head. Your chest will automatically pop out as you retract the shoulders. The shoulders are nicely flexed, and your delts are working. So Ali, if you could demonstrate that. So that's good. That's good shoulder flexion. What you normally get is if people are too rigid in the shoulders, you kind of hold it in front of them, and the ball won't be at the crown of the head. So you want to make sure that that's kind of properly. Another common mistake people make is pointing their knuckles upwards, when that's going to cause a lot of pressure to be applied on your thumbs. What you want to do is place your palm upwards to the sky, like you're pushing up off the sky, and that's going to put the brunt of the pressure on your palms. But once you work these mobility limitations, you will see many improvements in your overhead squat.
To progress into overhead squat, what you can do is start practicing body weight squats, and then once you get good at body weight squats, making sure your feet are flat onto the floor, there's no valgus forces involved, your knees are nice and straight, everything's mobile. So taking that next step further forward, you can have your hands up in the air and then squat down, making sure all your core muscles are working, and then you're not losing that stability and balance at the same time, so you're not falling backwards or forwards. Now, progressing on from that, what you can do is start exercising and get better at compound movements such as deadlifts, back squats, front squats, and standing shoulder press. Practice with a light weight first, so making sure you're mobile enough to do all those exercises. Then what you can do then, once you're good at them, making sure all your basics are bang on, you're good at those movements, strong enough, and once you're happy with that, and what you can do then is progress on to hand cleans or clean and presses, just basically trying to get into the Olympic lifts. So once you start getting into Olympic lifts, then you get stronger and stronger and stronger. So you're constantly stimulating the muscle tissue so they can never adapt to different types of trainings and different types of exercises. So regarding to doing the actual overhead squat, what you need to do then after that, once you've practiced all your compound movements, just included a little bit of hand cleans, just to mix it up a little bit, start practicing with overhead squat. You can start practicing with the studio bar. If you don't have a studio bar, then a broomstick, anything that's light, you can get above the head and start practicing. And then progressing onto 20 kilo barbell, and start putting some weights on, adding little baby weights on either side, and until you feel comfortable, squatting down nice and low into a deep squat.